Redline Network introduces our newest partnership, Outlaw Light. Outlaw is crafted for all of the beer drinking patrons of America. They aren't preaching or teaching, their mission plain and simple, to provide a high quality beer at an affordable price. Outlaw is crisp, crushable, refreshing. Available by the case, tall boys, 16-ounce six-packs or singles. Go to outlawbeer.com to find the nearest can or tavern near you. The Redline Network proudly raises their cans to you. Stay bold, Outlaw.
All right. Well, folks, I think this is going to work. All right. We got Kevin's muted right now. So, Kevin, there you go. You unmuted yourself there. All right. Well, thank you guys very much. Hey, sorry, guys, for the technical difficulties that we were having, but hey, we got it fixed. We got Dave on the job. Dave's going to take care of it. So, without further ado, we're going to have a longtime friend of mine on here. I'm trying to watch you all. All right, Donald. Thank you, sir. But longtime friend. This guy's known me probably since about the age of 15 years old. He can tell some very dark stories about me. We're going to try to keep this technical, though. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, my good friend, former owner of Sandusky Speedway, former owner of the 81 Denny Fisher, the 91 of Timmy J, the 1 of Joe Grunda, Kevin Jaycox. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
I could go on with all the drivers that you've had. I mean, Lee Boss. I mean,
Jamie Moore.
Jamie Moore. You had Martell.
Gary Griffith.
How about Kenny Graber?
Kenny Graber. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, good Lord. Yeah.
Kenny Graber won my first race.
He did. What track did he win it at?
Sandusky.
He sure did. Yep. Let's start to finish.
Yep.
Yep, let's start to finish. Sure did.
Kevin, real quick before you get into it, you ever had the thought of jumping in one of your cars yourself and taking some laps?
No. I actually, I fired one once, and that was enough for me. I came in. I told Denny, I said, "This thing's a piece of shit." I said, "It shakes so bad, I think everything's falling off." He said, "Well, you got it to throttle," and I said, "No, I'm not doing that." I said, "No, I'm good."
That's a great question, Dave. I've never even asked Kevin that question before. So yeah, that's a great question. So Kevin, like I do, I like to go back in the way out far back time machine and go ahead, and you kind of came on to super modified racing, and all of a sudden it's like, who's this guy? So how old were you when you first started going to racing?
My dad used to go to Oswego every year with, I know you remember Candy, Dave Watts.
Oh, God, yeah.
And myself and Dave Watts' son were really good friends. And but we used to go to Sandusky, not a lot, but maybe 3-4 times a year. Obviously, went to a high miler a lot with my parents at a young age. And then I started playing a lot of men's softball leagues and stuff like that when I got a little older. And then we moved on, and Denny was racing street stocks back then. So I went to a couple of his races and had a lot of fun with Denny, and kind of joined the ownership team with Denny and Dave Watts. And we did real well in the street stocks, won some championships. And Denny and I were talking one day and said, Jim Mayfield Super came up for sale, and it was definitely worth the price to buy it. But Denny and I had to come up with some money to do that. And I told Denny, I said, let's go to my parents' campground. They were camping. And I said, we'll have some beer and get Dad as much beer as we possibly get in them, and then we'll ask him for the money. Dad was excited, a huge super modified fan, and obviously my mom and dad gave us some money to get to stuff, and we formed a 3-way ownership at that time. And then I purchased the second car off Gord Hooper, which was one of the A-Bold cars, and then we built that ourselves, or built that up from ourselves, and built a pretty good car. I mean, we were Timmy, when we got Timmy driving for us and Denny driving for us, we did good. We finished top 10 in decimal points. both cars. Timmy should have won Flemington way back then. Led 99 and 3/4 laps, but I won't say anything else about that.
Right.
But
Right.
it was definitely that's what got us into this. Had a lot of fun. You know, as you know, you were a big part of that, Will. You know, you, Sean Wilford, Chip Deeds, Denny, obviously myself, Fireman John. You know, we had a
Fireman
really
John.
solid team, and obviously Big John was a big part of that too. And, I probably had a ton of fun with Big John because we used to, you know, when if we left early, it was always me and Big John that left, you know, and took a holler. But had a lot of good times, and I wouldn't trade any of those days for a world running ISMA tour the entire time for a lot of years. Then I became a board member in ISMA, and then I became vice president of ISMA.
I was
And
just
then
going to talk about that. So how did you?
The Midwest Super Modified Association? We were highly successful. And then I woke up one day and Don Arnold called me and said, "Hey, I want you to take over Sandusky Speedway." And I said, "No, absolutely not." And I went home and my wife yelled at me, you know, Bev yelled at me and said, "No, I want to do this." And I told her, "You have no idea what you're getting into." And, but I let her convince me to do that, and we did it. That's all of it in a nutshell. I mean, owned Sandusky Speedway for 24 years. But
how did you?
It's been a long history, and obviously, well, you've been in most of those years, so you definitely know how much fun we had in ISMA. You know.
Oh God, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But it's definitely been a pretty big roller coaster ride.
That was definitely an education with you guys. So just to let you guys know, I think I got with them. I was like maybe 15 or 16 years old. I can't remember. And Kevin said it. I don't know if Kevin said it this year at High Mile or Kevin said it last year.
I can hear you.
You can't hear me? David, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
I can't hear Will or you, David.
I can hear you.
All right, hold on a second. Let me remove you and bring you back in.
Oh, yeah, we're having a hell of a day today, huh, Dave?
Yeah, Amy Cather says that she can hear everybody. So Amy,
yeah, we can hear Kevin clear as day. Kevin, can you hear me now? Jump out and come back in. Yeah, I can hear.
Next to me, so I can hear.
It's off for like 30 seconds. It's like a delayed.
Yeah.
See if you can jump out and jump back in, Kevin, real quick.
I can hear off of Brittany's phone, but it's 30 seconds delayed. I can't hear you guys on my phone.
I was wondering why he wasn't letting me get the word in edgewise. Yeah.
Maybe if you go to Brittany's phone, or no, wait, you can't do that because then I have to send her the link or whatever. See if you can back out. Okay, well, he backed out and back in. Yeah, pretty cool story that he told us there real quick, Willie.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll go ahead and get into a little bit of it right now. I'm sorry, guys, for the technical difficulties we're having right now, but this is how it goes with technology. But definitely one of those things where Kevin got with me at about Kevin, can you hear us now?
Yeah, now I can hear you now.
Okay, good. So I got with Kevin back when I was like about 15 or 16 years old. Sean Wilford was the first one to get in there. He's like, "Hey man, come, I'm doing this with the jaycox team." I'm like, "Man, that sounds like fun traveling with those guys." And Kevin said, I don't know if it was this high mile or this 25 or 24. He goes, "I do not know what your parents were thinking by letting you two teenagers come with us on the road. Let me tell you, boys, we got an education, and it wasn't just from them; it was from everybody on the tour." So I've made a lot of good friends from there. Just long-lasting memories. I'm going to be 50 years old this year, and yeah, I know. I'm going to be 50, dude. So it's definitely one of those things where God, I still remember like it was yesterday, So, but Kevin, just to rewind back a little bit, you got into the ISMA board. How did that come about?
Actually, Chuck Hanley called me and asked me if I would run for the board of directors, and actually, he's the one who nominated me. But we were pretty much at that time about the only Ohio team that ran a full circuit. And Chuck wanted some Ohio presence on the board. So he called me and asked me to run, and I won. And then he asked me to run for vice president, and I won that. But it was at the time it was, I think, Will, if I'm right, it was just us, our cars. And then the year after that, then Hennis started racing the whole tour.
Yeah.
And then Bill Sauer started racing with his son the whole tour. So we ended up getting 4 or 5 guys from Ohio that actually ran the whole tour. But back then when we started, well, we had to make every show.
Yes.
There was a constant in Florida.
Remember the ISMA option? Remember the ISMA option back in the day? Yeah. So if you were, I think you only got to use it twice a year, right? You were allowed to use your ISMA.
It went in line, and then you went back in line. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it went by points.
It was tough because you had to start making decisions. I mean, we were fortunate. We did make a lot of the shows, but we did have problems. And honestly, we had problems in Wenheimer, and we also had problems in Kalamazoo. But you had to look at what the purse paid to decide if you were going to use the option.
Yeah.
And,
right.
It was a lot of fun, but it was pretty intense back then, especially when you went to Florida and you had 30 cars.
Yeah, for sure.
And, now, hell, we can't get 30 cars in Ohio.
So, yeah, total in the whole pit area. Yeah, but I remember those days. I remember going up to the board and looking at the ISMA board and being like, okay, all right. Oh, we're in a good heat today. We're in a good heat, you know, and or it's like, oh boy, like this.
Remember, we used to have Wilfred try to figure out where we started before we left.
Yes. Yes. Yep. So I remember that. He's the one that taught me how to do it, actually. Just by learning it from him. Yeah. So he'd be able to tell you exactly where we were going to start at in the heat race, and if we had to go to the B main, where we were going to start at in the B main, and he figured out the features and everything. Yeah. That dude was a race director and didn't even know it, man.
Yeah, you're right there.
Yeah, he was a race director, didn't even know it. But no, just God, man, so many great memories and good times. I remember going down to Florida with you guys and having fun. Like you said, there's like 30 cars down there. That was so much fun with the whole gang and stuff. And just good Lord, man, just traveling all over the country with you guys, all the way up till, God, I don't know, it was like 99 or something like that, so, but no, it's just good times, great memories. And I'll never trade him in for the world.
Me either. I remember being in a bar one night and it was just all ISMA people and they closed it and kept it open for us. I'm pretty sure you lost some kind of contest in the middle of that bar.
We're not going to talk about that here. Let's just say this. I'm not Big Will.
But some 70-year-old North Carolina, some 70-year-old man in North Carolina was.
And who was the judge on that?
It wasn't me.
It was Bev. It was your wife. So man. Good Lord, man. Yeah. So I can get into some Florida stories for sure. But no, it just definitely had a good time, great memories. And so you wound up going in Sandusky Speedway. Don Arnold says, come on, take over the racetrack. Was you already there helping out Don Arnold, or was it just because your affiliation with MS, was it MSA then?
How Don and I became about is we were at, I went there to, obviously we started MSA, and our first races that we scheduled were Lorain County Speedway and Sandusky Speedway. And I was going to be the race director for MSA, but because I had a lot of experience with, obviously, just working with Chuck a couple times in the tower, because I still believe Chuck's one of the best race directors out there. So I learned from him, and then I asked Don if he minded if I came out and just hung out at Sandusky in the tower just to see how they did it. And Don was the race director, and they had there was a fight in the pits, and Don had to go handle that and asked me to take over and of doing the race directing, and he never came back. So when it was over, a lot of the crew said that they thought I did a fair job, and and Don was looking for a race director at that time anyways, because he didn't want to do it. And, he wanted to be the guy that was fixing everything, because he was obviously really good at that. So he asked me if I'd stay on, and I said sure. And I just wasn't there for MSA shows, but that's how Don and I got associated with. So yeah, when then Don leased it out to Dutch Hayne, and I kind of got leased out with the property. So I went and worked for Dutch for a while, and there were some pretty big financial issues at the end. And then Don took the racetrack back, and as Don was taking that, this all happened on like a Friday, and by Monday, Bev and I took over Sandusky Speedway. Within like 4 days, and it was great. Don, if it wasn't for Don and Cheryl, honestly, we would have never been able to do it. And obviously, my mom and dad were a big part of that. I mean, my dad passed by then, but my mom was a huge part of what we were able to do. But if it wasn't for Don Arnold, we would have never been able to even think about doing it.
Right, yeah. And it was good to see Don at the racetrack. Was it Cavalcade? He was there, wasn't he? Or is it High Miler? I seen Don.
I can't hear nobody again.
Oh boy, we're back to this again.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It might be on Kevin's end, but
there, now I can hear you again.
Okay, good. When did Don come to Cavalcade, or was it High Miler? Yes. Can you hear us?
It went away again.
Oh shit.
He's gonna have to back out and come back in.
Yeah, he's gonna have to back out, come back in again. Is he hitting mute or something? Man,
I don't know what he's doing, but he backed out and came back in. It says John Evans says that Denny Fisher winning after Ralph and my dad passed away.
Yep, he sure. Yeah, they did. Yep, that year, and it's so ironic, how that happens, because I remember my dad's relationship with. Okay, hold on. Let's see if we got Kevin again.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know what's going on. My wife just made a change on my phone, so maybe that'll work.
So, but anyways, but back to Don Arnold again. JD Evans got on here, talked about Denny winning after your dad and Big John passed away, and what that meant to him. So that was a pretty emotional win. And was that Denny's first win in a super?
At Sandusky.
At Sandusky, yes, because he won at Lorraine a few years before that, didn't he?
Yeah, he won multiple at Lorraine.
Yeah.
But after my dad died and Big John died, he won at Sandusky, and yeah, it was pretty emotional.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Did your dad and Big John die in the same year?
No. Man, I'm not sure who was first.
I thought your dad was first and did Big John.
You know what? You are right. Because Denny called me. I remember Denny calling me to let me know Big John passed away. But yeah, my dad passed away first.
Yeah.
Okay. So John says 2003 his dad passed away, and Kyle Carlson has a question for you in the chat, Kevin. What was the reason for taking out the motocross track? The website said EPA issues, but nothing more specific.
That's 100% why, is EPA issues. When Dutch had it, he didn't do a lot. He did a lot of good on motocross because that's where he was from, but he didn't do a lot about dust issues when it came to motocross tracks. So obviously, you know who my neighbor is. So there is definitely some issues there. And this was before Duke actually bought it out. It was when Weichels owned everything behind the backstretch wall. But EPA, I made an agreement to EPA. They would let me run the rest of that year, which was my first year. And then I had to plow it over. I didn't have a choice. So I just signed a deal and thought I knew something. I thought maybe I could run go-karts to do as much money as a go-kart or as a motocross track. Obviously I was wrong. Motocross was huge. I used to get 150 bikes a night. They raced for zero money. They raced for plaques, trophies, medals, whatever. It was obviously the biggest profit center we had. I wish I would have tried to figure out a different way to work with EPA. It would have been a big difference for the racetrack.
Well, Kim, thank you for saying she loves Outlaw beer. So, Kim, if you want to win some free Outlaw, do us a favor. Go get one, snap yourself a picture with it, send it to us at Red Line. Put you in a drawing to win some free Outlaw.
Hey, Kevin, why doesn't dirt tracks ever have that problem with EPA issues like you did with your motocross track?
Well, in Ohio, our two best dirt tracks right now are Fremont and Attica, and they're both owned by Fairboards. So that helps. You know, that helps a lot. And they're
For
also
sure.
in the middle of a field in most cases. Fremont's not, but and they also probably kept a good job of keeping it wet. We never had issues with go-karts and dust, but we put a ton of water on the track, and I'm just not sure that was done at that time when Bev and I took over the motocross deal, and Don helped us. We definitely were able to keep a lot of water in the motocross track, a lot of water in it. So in that we didn't have the big dust complaints like he did.
Yeah. So, well, let's just get into the nuts and bolts here. A lot of people know, okay, if you guys don't know, if you lived underneath the rock, Kevin Jaycox sold Sandusky Speedway to Duke Thornton from Thor Sport. Have you heard anything about Sandusky Speedway possibly being leased or maybe have a race or two? Is there any news coming out? Or everybody's asking. Everybody's wanting to know what's going on with Sandusky Speedway. I know it's just sitting there. I was up there a couple months ago. We talked about it, and you said it hasn't changed a bit. So have you heard anything? Any rumors, anything like that?
No. Duke's a very private person to begin with. I honestly have not asked him. I honestly haven't talked to him since December 5th. Duke did me right. First off, I'm not going to bash him at all. I mean, he did me right and really took care of me when he probably could have waited and probably saved a lot of money. But I'll always remember what he told me is I don't do anything that's going to lose money. And not saying that he would go out there and lose money, but he also, for Duke to do it his way, he's probably talking $5-6 million.
I'm thinking more than that.
My figure is 8. My figure was 8 million. I can tell you that
mine was 7. To be honest, mine was 7.
Yeah, I mean, mine was 8 to do it how he wants to do, and he's never going to get $8 million back.
No.
But I don't know. He hasn't said anything. I'm not going to speak for him.
Right.
All I'm going to say is I've heard people have bashed him and people have bashed me. I mean, over all this stuff, and I'm the reason it's closed. Whatever. I'm not the reason it's closed. I didn't sell it because I was bankrupt. I sold it because I want to do it.
Right.
No, I can't do it. And yep, the racetrack did not ever make enough money to pay what needed to be done. I am a senior director of operations for a pretty big company. So I get paid decent money, but it all went into keeping the racetrack open. I also own a very successful sign company that does very well. Every profit dollar went to keep that racetrack open. And people go, well, he needed to do this for the bathrooms. He needed to do this. There's no money left. There's no money left.
Right.
And next time you go to the when you talk about bathroom problems and stuff like that, if we changed anything, we'd spend $100,000 and hook to a sewer.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We were already warned. We were already caught of doing some things. The health department told us straight out, say, hey, you just let you know, anything you do and you make any change back here, you were going to connect to the sewer. And that just wasn't even feasible. But it's funny, and this is not a knock. I'm not knocking fans. I don't want to do that.
Oh, you should. Oh, you should, Kevin, because they're part of the reason why these tracks ain't successful. So yeah, let's knock the fans.
Yeah.
Let's knock.
But one thing that here's the big difference of dirt and asphalt. Go to the dirt track. I've been to many because over the years I've been to many. But first off, drivers don't bitch. They get screwed. They don't say anything. I watched Casey. I went to Fort Wayne indoors to watch Casey race. Casey got thoroughly screwed. I mean, thoroughly screwed. He never said a word. He didn't get excited. He didn't say a word. He just went on and tried to do the best he can at every race. It's how he does it every week. If you watch this kid, you can't tell that he's won or lost. He has the same mentality, which reminds me of my former driver, his father. It was the same way. But if you look at asphalt racing, oh my God, if you ran out of hot dogs, they're going to burn the place down. And you're the biggest asshole that ever walked the world. I still read stuff of people slamming me, and I'm going, why? Why would you still slam me? You got what you wanted. I'm out.
Right.
I said this, Will, and I know you've heard me say this. 24 years ago, well, now 25 years ago, I said in a driver's meeting, and I promise you, anybody that's ever raced under me heard me say this at that time. I will do everything I can to keep Sandusky Speedway open. But I promised, when I sell it, it will no longer be a racetrack. And the reason is because nobody wants it to be a racetrack other than the people that supported it. Anybody outside of me does not want that racetrack there.
No.
It's viable land. It's very Duke. The smartest thing Duke could do is expand it how he wants to, and he owns a lot of property around that racetrack. Expand it how he wants to, but if he sold the front part of that property, he'd get his money back.
Yeah.
He's not a dumb person. He's very intelligent.
Yeah, we talked about that 100 times. Yeah,
but I mean, for the people that continually to bash me and say it's my fault, the place is closed. How's it my fault? I put it for sale. If it's my fault, you could have bought the fucking place.
Yeah,
you could have bought it. You could have bought it. It could have been a racetrack tomorrow.
Sure hell could have been.
Don't bitch at me because I sold it.
Yeah.
It went up for auction. Every person had a right to bid.
Yeah.
And the highest bid was Duke, and it wasn't even close to what I wanted. But Duke trying to be a great neighbor and trying to help me out and trying to help himself out, we negotiated a price afterwards that was good for both of us.
Right.
But I love it that it's my fault. I just read a driver, and I got Rollo. I'll give Rollo a lot of credit because he stuck up for me, talking about people relied on this place. People support this place. I haven't seen you in 5 years.
Bullshit. I said on my my walk and talk, when you announced that track was going up for sale, and I'll say it now, and I said it then, and I'll say it now. I don't want to see one fucking tear from one person talking about this racetrack closing that's never been there week in and week out. Now, Granted, I'll raise my hand up, okay? I live in Florida, okay? But you know what, though? I still flew up there every single year for High Mile. I think I might have missed 2 or 3, whatever, for work purposes. But I still supported that track. And you know what? There's other people that live 20 miles, 40 miles down the road that would go there every single weekend and not support that track just for whatever reason that there might have been. And I don't want to hear no bitching from them. I don't want to hear no tears, no crying, nothing from you, because you were the problem why Sandusky Speedway closed. Okay.
Yeah. But people like, I'll use Rollo as an example. Rollo went to every car race, every go-kart race for the last 3 years.
Right.
You know what? And when the races are over, me and Rollo bawled our eyes out on the front stretch.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. And then there's so many issues of owning a racetrack. And some of it, the dirt tracks, especially fairgrounds that own them, that's a big asset. But we're lucky that out here, we got great dirt track owners, John Boris and Rich Farmer. I mean, these guys are great promoters and great owners and doing what they're doing. Give them a ton of credit to be able to put shows on like they did. But everything's changing and everybody needs to understand it. I mean, especially asphalt's scary right now.
Oh, it's scary down here in Florida.
Tell me one asphalt track out there that's doing great, and I'll prove to you they're not.
Yeah.
And I hope Randy does great at Midvale, and the Shady Bowl, I hope they do great. The ones that are left, I hope do great. But you lost 3 racetracks in Ohio all at the same time.
Yes.
And somebody
unprecedented.
I already heard too that I bet you if you knew Lorraine was closing, you would have stayed. No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
I knew there's a good chance Lorraine was going to close months before it was even announced. Randy Jr. and I talked, and I knew that they were at the, either we start making money or we got to go, but it's scary. It's just like times are changing completely. It's Wednesday. Almost every racetrack in Ohio is canceled already.
Yeah. Yeah. Dirt or asphalt, though.
I'm watching, and people are bitching about it. And I'm going, you know what? Owasso was easily at risk for $30,000 loss this weekend. Attica, I can't even imagine what that loss could have been for Friday. And it's going to rain the next 3 days anyways. And the temperatures are going to be at night in the 30s. Who in the hell is going to race this? Not with dirt vision. Not as long as you have dirt vision and flow, you can sit at your house in 70 degrees, drink beer for whatever a case of beer costs, and watch it on TV.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure. I was planning on doing it.
And I was going because it's Ohio and it's
right. Yeah.
And I mean, we were going to support him, but it just kills me of how people think now, and how much negativity there is. It's brutal, and it's sad, but everybody can have it how they want it. Or say whatever they want to say. There's freedom of speech, and everybody feel what they want. You're the ones that are going to suffer when it's done, because I can tell you, I'm burned out after 24 years. I became a pretty big dirt fan just because of Casey Jetersek. I really don't. I plan on going to Oswego Classic this year.
What? You're kidding me?
No,
You're coming to the Classic?
It all depends. I think.
Yeah. See, I was going to say. Yeah.
You probably don't even know this, but I'm working with the Outlaw Series, the small block deal.
Well, this is why I was trying to hit around to you in the pre-show. Is there any news that you want to go ahead and tell us?
Yeah, there's a couple. So I joined forces there, and I'm going to work race direct when Jeff Lickfeld's doing ISMA shows. I would never step on Jeff's toes. Jeff and I are really good friends, and I think he's a great race director, and I think I have a good part of him being a great race director. And then you probably don't know this because I think only 6 people know this, but I am going to become the second race director at Toledo and Flat Rock to fill in when their guy's not there.
Okay.
So I if I get 4 or 5 races, do of each, that's enough for me. And my son and my buddies and Joey Wyckoff, who's like a son to me, they're all racing go-karts at Fremont. So we're going to do a lot of that also. But it's just it's exciting. Well, and I didn't even think about that when you asked me. I didn't even think about that.
I'm I'll try to pry it out of him on the show. Hey, Kevin, can you turn the light on in there? I can barely see you.
Really? Yeah. Can you turn the light on? Will says he can't see me.
Yeah, you're dark. You're as dark.
And the thing is, the light's been on since December 5th, and now today she decides to turn it off.
I know that me and Kevin had a conversation out at Lorraine when they did the practice, and Kevin had told me that he was doing some race directing and stuff with that. Glad to have you back doing that, Kevin, where you feel, not to say more comfortable, but kind of back in your old stomping grounds, and you look more happy, just talking to the drivers and talking to people out there. You can tell the relief from your body when you're talking to you, that you ain't got to worry about the racetrack, and you can just worry about going to the racetrack with your family, going to call some races when you can, and whatever. And listen, I'm going to tell you this. You gave Sandusky Speedway a good 24 years, and people should thank you for that opportunity for them to race, to work there, come to the racetrack, whatever. They should give you all the flowers that you deserve. It's your choice to sell the racetrack. If you wanted to, you could probably have opened this year if you wanted to, but you were tired, drained. You said it yourself. You were drained. You have a job that you want to do, and you're high up there. Why would you want to keep dumping money into a place that you're losing? See, people don't losing money at. See, people don't understand that. And me seeing it from working behind the scenes now and looking at it, I can tell too, when I took a step back from announcing, about how much better it felt just to have that relief off you, that you ain't got to be at the track every Saturday. You ain't got to worry about people calling you. And you talked about, people's mad at you for this. Listen, I was walking at Lorraine last year in the middle of something. I think it was an intermission. And I had 4 people walk up to me and say, hey, there's no paper towels in the men's bathroom. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. There's nothing that I can do about that, but thank you for telling me. I relate it to people, and some people just don't know what it takes to run a racetrack, Kevin. They don't know. You got to make sure you got the employees there. You got to make sure that you got your insurance paid. Make sure you got car count. If you're expecting a certain amount of cars, they don't show up. That's on you. That's not on the fans. That's on you as the owner to find a way to pay the drivers to get people to come out there.
Well said, Dave. I totally agree with what you said. When the auction was over, I walked back in because I couldn't handle it. I couldn't stay inside and listen. But once I heard it was over and what the high bid was, I walked back in the office with my head down. And Kenny Sharp and Rollo and Nikki Sharp and my son, we were all sitting in there. I don't think I missed anybody. We were all sitting there, and I remember that Rollo said, well, let's get to work. And then Kenny and Nikki were like, all right, what do we got to do? And my son was like, Dad, whatever we got to do. And then my son also said, let's wait to see what Karen and Rhonda Jedrzak could do. Karen Rose and Rhonda Jedrzak, who was my auctioneer and my realtor. And they told me, Karen and Rhonda both said, we're selling this today. Don't worry about it. And they did. But I do remember that we were already trying to figure out how we were going to open for 27, which the bank would work with me. That's a fact. They always did. I was very lucky to have a great insurance company with Naughton. And Kevin Naughton worked with me too to make the payments easier and stuff like that. Because most people don't know, most of the racetracks in the state of Ohio don't have insurance all year long. They don't.
If you can answer this, what does it cost a year for the insurance for you to have insurance at Sandusky Speedway all year? And how long does it run through?
It runs all year, the entire year. So like, no matter if I wanted to race February 1st, doesn't matter. It runs all year. It's $34,869. I looked it up when Will told me what he was going to talk about. And just so you know, that is liability insurance only on the racetrack. That's it. Property insurance was $24,000 a year.
So yeah, 28,000 plus right now.
Oh no, you're over that. You're over $50,000.
Well, I'm just talking about between. You said insurance was what, 4,000 for the year or for a month?
No, insurance was 38 or 34,869.
Oh, I'm 34. I'm sorry. You clicked out on the.
That's just liability. That's just liability. My payment was almost $4,200 a month until that ran out, meaning it paid it off, and then property insurance is about $24,000 a year, so about almost 13. Was it 13 something? But it added up to almost $24,000.
Right.
So you're at $58,000.
Yeah, $58,000, and then you have to pay out drivers that show up to win. I mean, the car counts were shit. Let's just call a spade here. How many modifieds were you getting? You're only running them once a month, right?
We only ended up running 2 modified shows because they got rained out. But I think our first one was 12 and our second one was 16, maybe. Cavalcade was more. Cavalcade was like 22.
Yeah, it was a good car count there for that. Yeah. So how many front wheel drive cars were you getting a week?
So we came up, myself and Rich Lucius came up with a very aggressive purse. We were either going to make this work or we were going to get out. So we were paying pretty good money for front wheel drives. I think it was $700 to win or something. But it's like $3,800 purse a night. And our highest was 19 and our lowest was 6.
That 6 number, that hurts.
Yep.
Yeah. And then
now, Kevin, let me ask you this. What do you have an average amount of fans that were there each and every Saturday? Because we want to put some of the blame on the fans too, not just you or the drivers, because the fans are about 33% of how your revenue is coming.
Right. But what I don't want to do, Dave, is, and this is just me being honest, I can't blame the fans that showed up. So
You can't
No,
blame
it's
him.
the
it's not the
I
fans,
can't even
Kevin.
blame people who didn't show up.
Oh no,
Um,
I can do that. You
but
don't have to, but I can.
I can't, because people make a living, and in this day and age, money's tough. So people come when they could. The issue I have is the ones that never showed up and bitch. That's the issue for me. But the ones that showed up, I have one guy that I can't even remember his name, and that makes me sad. But he showed up to every race for 24 years, never missed a race.
Mm-hmm.
Never missed a race. Always never called me by my first name. It was always Jaycox, and always came up, shook my hand, smacked me on the shoulder. It didn't matter how much I charged for any race, he was there.
Right.
Always in the concession line, always spending his money. Was just a really good supporter. But there's also, guys, you got to remember, Sandusky Speedway has tradition. So it has a lot of tradition, especially when it comes to modifieds.
Lots of tradition there.
Yep. I mean, one thing about super modified fans, they will find a reason to say how great a super modified show is just because it says super modified. I've been to some terrible, terrible super modified races at Sandusky, and all I hear is, "Man, that was great. That was a great show. That was a great show." But the problem is, on super modified end, in the history of Sandusky of being super modifieds, is, think about this: 5%. This is a fact. 5 to 8% of your fan base passes away every year.
Yeah.
Every year.
You and I talked about this. You and I had these exact same words.
Yep.
I brought this up on the show with Dave on Sunday. Super modified fans are dying every single year,
Yep.
and we're not replenishing them. And that's the problem. And and if you're not replenishing them, you're not going to replenish into the super modified field either. And super modifieds, I just want to say congratulations to ISMA, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I'm serious. I mean, holy shit, ISMA. I mean, good Lord. I mean, you guys are really stepping it up. You guys are bringing money into it. You guys are working with Oswego, and ISMA, I mean, keep the course. I mean, it really looks like at Flamborough, there might actually be a B main this year.
I know.
Real quick, Willie, Kevin Jaycox Jr. says that fan's name was Woody.
Oh, you know what? I have two. He is right. That fan's name is Woody. But there's another one too who's younger than Woody. But I remember having a race that I canceled, and a driver made me mad. So I said, you know what? We're going to race it because it was raining. And somebody made me mad, so I was going to show them and decided I was going to race. Well, we already announced we canceled, and it comes race time, and there's one person in the stands, and it was Woody. and my wife didn't charge him to get in. Thank God it rained and we canceled it. So but it was but yeah, thanks Kev. Appreciate that. But it's but that, guys, all I gave you is insurance.
Yeah, well, let's keep it going. I mean, we're just getting into this. We still got 30 more minutes to go. So yeah. So you got insurance. You got what was it? What was the other one? Taxes.
Yep. Oh, taxes.
Yeah.
Taxes was what was it? Oh no, it was 12,000 and a half. It was $24,000.
24,000. Yeah.
Yep. That's one lot. Remember, I got two lots.
Okay.
The other one was 12,000.
Yeah.
A year. All right. Well, here comes the hardest part. Is the place I was paying on it.
Yeah.
Right. So there was a payment. There was a payment, and so when I signed a contract, first off, I was a little bit business naive. But when we signed a contract to buy it, I had to go variable variable meaning if interest rates changed, my payment went up.
Yes.
It wasn't locked because it was $1 million loan. All right. I don't know if I could have done better, probably if I knew more about stuff like that. But you got to remember, we purchased a racetrack in 5 days. Obviously we leased it for a little bit until we were able to do it. But my payment when I signed the agreement was $6,200 a month, and that was 12 months. It was $6,200. Well, guess what happened when Biden took over? Interest rates went skyrocketing. My payment went from $6,200 to $8,300. 12 months. You know, that's not why you're open. That's 12 months.
Mm-hmm. That's why there's no money coming in.
Correct. That's why, yeah.
So
we're
November, December,
so,
January, February, March, while there's no money coming in, you still have to pay that knot, you know, every month for that. You know, it just this is why I wanted to bring you on here. So people, you know, fortunately, unfortunately, you know, I got a chance to peek behind the curtain when I've worked with Kevin, and he made me a race director for a year. And he said, "Hey, look, like this is what it is. This is what it takes. This is what's going on." I asked the questions, and he never shied away from them. He said, "You want to know? I'll tell you." You know, and it's just, there's people like, you know, that come up to me like, "Oh, you know." The running theme, you know, the bathrooms, we all know about that, you know. And I said, do you understand how much it's going to cost just to, you know, get the bathrooms done? Just to tap into the sewer line, tap into the water, like all that stuff. Like they did not have a clue of what it was going to take to go ahead and just to get the bathrooms, you know. It's just,
but also we could have done a better job, you know. That's just factual. But I mean, just keeping them cleaner and stuff like that.
But if you had money coming in, yeah. I mean, but like, what could you do, Kevin?
Well, you can't find people to work. You know, we talk about 5 to 8% of your fan base dies every year. I had probably one of the best staffs ever in racing when I took over. I had great people. They're all dead. You know, seriously, Stevie.
This is Stevie. Yeah, Stevie. Yeah.
You know, a lot of, you know, Laura ended up retiring, who was with me from the beginning, but most of the people that started with me are gone.
Yeah.
You know, Tommy Shield, Duke, Deb, you know, they're all gone. Chris Mize.
Yeah.
You know, all those people are gone. I'll be honest, you know, the last year, you know, Chris, you know, passed away. And that took a lot out of me. And it isn't that Chris, I'm not going to say Chris was the greatest race director in the world, because I don't feel that. I think Chuck Hanley is by far the best race director that I've ever worked with. Chris was a great friend who helped me a lot and made things a lot of fun. Rich Lucius came in by me asking him to come in. And Rich was business. You know, Rich knew a lot. Rich knew how to be a hard ass when it was needed. Rich also knew when to worry about the racetrack, and was a solid race director. I mean, he was really good at what he did. But you lose somebody that you treat as a brother, you know, and it just wasn't the same. I had a lot of fun with Rich. Rich is definitely not one of the reasons I sold out. I loved working with Rich. And I learned a lot from him, and I think he learned a little bit from me. And I think the biggest thing is on purses. I think he learned a little bit of where we really should have been a little more. We should have based some things on car counts a little bit better. But I also think that if Rich wouldn't have made some of the changes that he would have made, we'd have been worse off than we were. So, but it's losing. It was like, well, when you moved, you know, that took a lot out of me. You know, you were a great race director. You also helped me in other organizations when I needed it. I mean, there's just a lot of things of longtime friendship that you can trust. You know, when you ask me a question on anything, well, I'm always honest with you because
I know you are.
Relationship. Yeah. You know, I'm never going to lie to you. You know, if you ask me right now of how much profit I made in any year, I'll look it up and call you with it, but it's not going to take long to look it up. You know, our goal was always when I started working for the company I work for now, and I got promoted to a director and now a senior director. My goal was always just to have the racetrack pay for itself. If the racetrack would pay for itself, I'd still be there because I didn't dislike the place. The biggest thing I sold the racetrack for is I didn't like who I was becoming. I was very short-tempered and short-fused. I was really struggling dealing with all the bitching that happens at races. And not that they weren't deserved people, that they do deserve to bitch about stuff, but I just couldn't deal with it anymore. And I seen what it did to my kid. And, he took over that go-kart deal and made it into something huge. And then he's getting the shit beat out of him on people bitching him. And it's like, I don't want my family to do this anymore. I mean, it says a lot. Kev is pretty intelligent and has a good job, and is like a team leader kind of deal at where he works. And Kev could have walked away with it with keys. No
and
charge.
he didn't even want it. And he didn't even want it.
Yeah. It did not take him 2 seconds to say no.
Yeah.
He could have took it and sold it the next day. He wouldn't do it. He wants nothing to do with it. And I've been called by numerous places. A couple go-kart tracks called me and asked me if I would take over their deal and stuff. And every time I bring it up to Kev, he says, "You're going alone." I'm not doing it. And I was like, no, I don't want to do this. I just want to be. But if you can see what it does to your family, of running a racetrack, it's brutal. It's brutal. It's tough. Unless you got a ton of money, then it's easy because you can hire everybody to do it. But we didn't have any money. We were doing it all ourselves. We were weed eating ourselves. We were picking up garbage. We were doing it all ourselves. I was lucky to run into Joey Wyckoff, who worked with me for a while, and Hellbison, Jeremy, he worked with me for a while. Kenny Sharp worked for me for a little bit. Justin Hamilton worked for a year. But I mean, those people I was lucky to have. They were all great employees and worked their asses off. But as you go on, you lose those people because they got other stuff to do. They become family people, and they just got stuff to do. So it's really rough. But I mean that when I say that is, losing Chris took a lot out of me, and losing you took a lot out of me. I mean, it was rough. Once you get that feeling of people, and that's the same thing with Rich Lucius, losing Rich. I lost Rich half the year last year, if not 3/4 of the year. That took a lot out of me because I had a lot of trust in him. And same thing with you, Will, and all these people that helped me, Rollo, and all these people I have a lot of trust in. But if you can't have those around, it's scary. It's really scary. You're doing it by yourself. And Will, me and you are like brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we've done things to piss each other off. We've never stopped being friends.
Well, you've always hugged it out.
Absolutely. And there's just it's rough. I mean, I don't know if I'm sorry I'm rambling, Will, but
no, you're fine. You're fine. Go ahead.
I want to. So Cavalcade was rough, right? It was rough. You came in. Obviously, I'm in my office bawling my eyes out when you're there, and Rich did this whole deal. I mean, Rich was on top of everything. We had cars. I mean, we had fans. I mean, we had Friday night high miler fans. I mean, that's how many people were there, and our car count was amazing. The racing was amazing, and I was thinking all the things that that I've done in racing was coming to an end. This weekend, and Rich did such a great job of making sure he was on top of everything, and I'll never forget two things that happened that really made my entire thing. So the first night I ever ran Sandusky Speedway, if anybody remembers, I'm sorry, my first year at Sandusky Speedway, the same cavalcade weekend was always the first week in October. My first year, the lights went out. Well, the last two races, we had 2 races to go, and the lights went out. We haven't had a light problem in 20 years. We changed all the wiring and upgraded all that from Scott Bartlemy to all that. That's another family I can't say enough about is Scott Bartlemy's family. I mean, they've lived at the racetrack for, oh my God, 10 years.
Technically,
Scott,
technically they did.
Yeah, they lived there and worked their asses off for nothing. They got nothing. And but yeah, I definitely don't want to forget them. But anyway, so the lights went out, and I walked back to the backstretch. I'm laughing, and I turned the breaker off, and I walked back there and look, and I was like, felt the breakers. They're not even warm. I was like, what is wrong here? And I said, you know what? I'm just nobody do anything for 10 minutes. So I'm still laughing because that's how my first year ended. And so I walked up, flipped the breaker, lights come back on, no problem. Never go off again. Didn't do anything. It just didn't go off again. But anyways, I was thinking about all the things that I feel I've done for people, meaning that, at Sandusky Speedway, people don't even know this. Me and Timmy just talked about it. Casey Jedrzak ran his first laps at Sandusky Speedway. There's numerous people who ran their first laps at Sandusky Speedway. RJ Cornett, who's a super late model driver and raced at Flat Rock. He ran his first laps at Sandusky Speedway. But anyways, I wanted to go out with some big deal, meaning something that I could only do for someone that can never happen again or will never happen again. So I took my race car, my front wheel drive car, and I had Parker win the last race ever at Sandusky Speedway. Sorry.
No, take your time. Take your time. You're fine. Fine.
For people who don't know, Parker is a good kid. Well, he's not a kid. He's old. But he's got some mental issues. He's got some issues, for, I don't know what they are, but just one of those people that loves racing. Doesn't care what kind of racing it is. Doesn't care if it's super modified. Every time Parker's at a racetrack, he has a different number one driver. If it's a super show, it's usually DJ Schulich. If it's a street stock show, it's Josh White. If it's something else, it's Joey Wyckoff, but I didn't think this would be hard.
No, take your time, man. Take your time.
But I told Parker after the race was over, I hugged him and gave him the checkered flag and told him, just remember, bud, nobody can say what you can say. And he looked at me and goes, what? And I go, you are the last ever feature winner at Sandusky Speedway. And it was pretty fun. He jumped on the car and it meant a lot. And then the biggest thing that made me have pretty much a complete meltdown. One thing sucks when you get older, you get a lot more emotional. Hold on.
That's all right.
Real quick, while you're doing that, Kevin Jaycox Jr. says Ethan Smith, though, threw the last checkered flag at Sandusky Speedway. Yep. I was told to make sure that I tell you that by Kevin, Willie.
Yeah, absolutely, he did. Absolutely, he did.
And the funny part about that is people don't know this, but Ethan is probably the second best flagman I know. And he is that way because he tailors himself after Will. And Ethan is a phenomenal flagman. One of the only one I've ever worked that I feel is better than Ethan as well.
I remember coming up there 2024 when Ethan first started flagging, and I remember you guys getting on Ethan that he didn't have the pizzazz, we'll say, that I had, the way that I could do the flags and stuff. And I remember talking to him. I said, hey, this, that, hold it like this, it just, working with, I said, don't be embarrassed, man, and I remember coming back in 2025 and I remember watching videos, down here in Florida, and I came back and I seen him and I said, all right, kid. All right, man. And he's winding them up for, halfway and 2 to go. And he's getting into it. And the fans really enjoy that type of stuff. And that's the way I did it. You know, you told me this. You told me this, and this is something that's always stuck with me through my whole entire flagging life was don't be the show, be a part of the show.
Absolutely.
And that's something that's always stuck with me still to this day. 14 years later, 15 years later. And it's just one of those things where, and I think I might even have said it to Ethan too, and he's a hell of a good kid. And the funny thing is, I remember Ethan when he was running around that damn racetrack when he was like 5, 6 years old,
Yeah.
7 years old, So it's like, and then to see him up there on the flag stand and him doing his thing, and it made me proud because just to see somebody do that, and it's just like, you know what, and he's emulating me, and I have no problem with that. The imitation is the best form of flattery. So.
Yeah.
And for him to do that it was really cool, and it was really awesome. And Ethan, I appreciate you so much, for you doing that, because I might not have been there, but by you doing that, I was there, so it kept people thinking about me and you growing into who you were as a flagman, so that was good,
Yep.
so
Absolutely.
that meant a lot to me. It really did. And he's a hell of a good kid. He really is. I got to catch up with Ethan when I came up to Ohio a couple months ago for my aunt's or my godmother's, / aunt funeral. Got to see you and Brittany and Ethan, and we got to talk. And so I don't have it close by, but Ethan wound up giving me the flag holder for Sandusky Speedway out of the flag stand. And a lot of you guys don't know that stuff, but I got it. And I don't know if I want to sandblast it and repaint it, or if I just want to leave it the same. And I'm leaning towards leaving it just the same. And I want to put flags up here behind me and just put flags in there and just hang it off the wall. Just
Right.
it's that track means more to me than I think that anybody. Kevin, you know what it means to me.
Absolutely. I was talking about before I had to break down there.
Yeah.
I was talking about when the races were over at Cavalcade and we're coming to the end, and Rich called me on the radio and said, "Hey, I need you to the front stretch." So I went to the front stretch and I don't even know who was behind at the lights in the infield. But Rich played, I don't even remember the song that Rich played. And then they killed all the lights at the same time. That was pretty wild, devastating, honestly. But it was pretty cool at the same time. I think on our page, that's the light where you see the picture where the lights are off at the track and the pit lights are still on behind it.
It will
that's
be.
where that picture. That's when that was done, and Rich came out and hugged me, and we said some words, and that's when I walked off the racetrack, and Rollo was standing there bawling his eyes out, and me and him had words, and then Kev was a wreck. Kev was the one who pushed me. He said, "Dad, it's time. I want to enjoy life with you and not just being here." And Kev was a wreck all year. He was. It really hit him hard. Figured that he's lived there since he was 8 years old. And it really hit him hard. But we, I gave up a lot to own Sandusky Speedway. I missed out on a lot of my kids' stuff because there's just no time. You're cutting grass all week long, and you can't afford to pay people to do it. I mean, I had some nice people that helped, like Rollo helped with some high miler camping, making sure people paid, making sure people weren't being stupid in parking or being stupid, period. But I had a lot of great help, but you don't realize what you gave up, and I don't want my kid to give that up. I want my son to race with his children and have fun with them, but I don't ever want him to be involved as a track official or be a track owner, because it takes too much. It just takes too much away from your family. Me and Bev, it was her idea to own the racetrack, and we ended up getting separated, halfway through this deal. And because there's no family time, there's no talking, it's just constant work. And when you struggle on paying stuff, you have to get a job, and I was lucky to get the job I got, and then you have to have a business that can help pay for it, and the sign company did that. But it was one thing. Everybody asks me if I have any regrets, and I say the same thing. If I had to do this all over again, I would definitely still do it, and it's strictly because the relationship with people. The people I know from Oswego, the people I know from ISMA, the people that are supported the super modifieds, period. I would never trade that. And the friends I had that worked for me and over the period of times, but I would never trade that. I would still do it all over again, no matter how much it cost me. I would still do it all over again.
I got something I want to say, Kevin, real quick. I remember 2005. You remember when you pulled me out the car when it was on fire on the front stretch?
Wait, I'm sorry. What was that, Dave?
2005. I'm leading a feature, and you pulled me out of the car on the front stretch when the car caught on fire. You remember that?
Yes, I do remember that.
I remember you telling me if that fucking car wouldn't have caught on fire, you'd have won that race.
So Dave was nice enough. We had a Cloverleaf reunion race, and Dave asked me to drive for him. I've never raced anything, and so I said, all right. So Dave had 2 cars. They both looked the same, and I went out. I qualified, and I was like, hey, I feel pretty good. They had a lot of cars back then at that Cloverleaf race. You remember, there's like 30 cars. And I felt pretty good. And I came in, and Bev, my wife, stopped me on the pit exit and goes, you are embarrassing our whole family. And she started laughing at me. And I go, what? And she goes, you're the slowest qualifier out here. And I go, are you kidding me? She goes, no. And I was in hot laps. I was keeping up and passing cars. I was like, no way. And so I went to the pit, and Dave's all pumped up. Dave's pumping his fist. I'm going, are they making fun of me? And Dave said, Dave goes, nice job. And I go, I'm the slowest car here. Dave goes, no, you're 3rd fastest. And I said, what's my wife talking about? He goes, my other car's the slowest car here.
Yeah, and then I remember that 2005, and I know, Kevin, through the years of you owning Sandusky Speedway, I've gotten some trouble out there, caused a little bit of problems. Got banned a couple times and whatever. But I want to thank you for giving me my first ever opportunity to get on the microphone, and I remember that plain as day because I was racing and I was announcing, and I know California Ben, or not California Ben, it was Eric who was who was leaving, and you came up to me and said, hey, I got a question to ask you. So what's that? He goes, everybody here, why don't you just get on the mic? And I said, oh, Kev, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. You said, just go give it a try. And I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. So I thought about it after hot laps while I'm going down the back straightaway at Sandusky. I'm like, shit, I might as well try it. Why not? So I did it, and I ended up working there for a couple of years, and I had a lot of fun, man. And I appreciate you for giving me that opportunity, man. And, like I like announcing now, but sometimes it's time just to take a break and sit back and watch it from a different perspective as a fan. I mean, I've been, and I apologize for causing problems back in the day. When I was with Peterson and Quinn, we all called especially at that time, man. You were on us every fucking night, which we were a victim of our own circumstances. I remember the cops being called there a couple times for us, and you were like, Dave, just don't get arrested here. If you're going to get arrested out on Perkins. Don't get arrested here. And I mean, shit, we had a lot of fun times at Sandusky, man. And I just want to say, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to learn how to be an announcer, especially at Sandusky. And then this past year, I know it was the last year. And then when I had the opportunity to get on the mic for a couple races, the Thursday and Friday at High Miler, it was a no brainer. I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yep. No, I appreciate you. You've done me right over the years. Definitely appreciate you. And honestly, I haven't mentioned his name yet, but there's probably reasons. But I mean, seriously, if Krista Castro is a big part of Sandusky Speedway staying open because he runs a graphic shop, and Chris does a great job out of there. He works his ass off. Chris has changed a lot. And I think that's one thing I never noticed is, the graphic shop paid a lot of bills. And so I put a lot of pressure on Chris Chris, I need you to do this amount of money this week so we can pay this off or whatever. And without that being us needing that to pay bills, or at least racetrack bills, it's been he's way different. We've actually had a record month of sales or business that we've already finished in the month of April. But I mean, I used to pick on him a lot because he never worked 40 hours. He got overtime the last 2 weeks. I don't even know what to do. But he's changed a lot, and he's gave us a lot of effort into what he's done, and he's turning out some unbelievable work.
So people are saying here online, he's your daddy.
Yeah, I have a feeling that came from Rollo and Trello.
Yep. Ethan's saying it, Kevin's saying it, Rollo's saying it. So yeah.
Well, yeah, but their leader is my son, so that says it all right there.
Is that a bird? Kevin says. Kevin says.
He's such a jerk. Oh my God! But
hey, Kevin, who's got the chicken?
Well, I haven't heard that in a long time.
So I see him get on here.
I actually, Joey works for me now. 2 to 3 days a week.
Right.
Why he does his other gig, but he's God, you want to talk about somebody who just doesn't stop working? It's just amazing. I don't even know how he keeps up.
Yeah,
of doing what he does.
That kid's always been like that, though. He's not a kid anymore, but he's always gonna be a kid to me. But yeah, he's always been like just go. Let's get it done. Come on, Willie. So that's just good.
Kevin doesn't even call him Joey anymore. He calls him his brother.
Oh, really?
You say something, he'll go, I don't know. Ask my brother. I love it that they're so close as adults. So that means a lot to me too.
Yeah. So no, I'm going to try to go ahead and do my best here on this one here, but a lot of you guys do not know, a lot of you guys know that Kevin and I go way, way, way back, and we've been friends for many, 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 many years. And Kevin had asked me to be his flagman, and I was his flagman for a couple of years. Hell, on the second year, I was pretty much the race director from the flag stand. And Bev, I remember Bev rolling up to me. Oh, you can't hear me?
I can't hear him.
I can hear you. I can hear you. Yep. I can hear you. Yep.
They're not even moving.
Can you not hear me? Okay. Yep. Can you hear me, Dave?
I can hear you, Willie.
Okay. All right then. So log out and log back in. To boot him
Willie,
fast,
just to let you know, Willie, we got about 2 more minutes left to go.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll go ahead and I'll try to make this as fast as possible. And Kevin can listen to this back on the replay. But Kevin brought me in, be a flagman. A few years later, he brought me in to be a race director. I hit a tough spot in my life. I really did. To the point to where I pretty much was homeless. And I had an ex-girlfriend, and are we still in the Black Flag story? No, we're not. So no, we're not telling that story. And Kevin, I had called Kevin, and me and ex-girlfriend, we had got into it. And I said, that's it. I'm not living with this bitch anymore. And I'm getting out. And I had every intention to go be homeless and living on the street. And I called Kevin. I said, hey, look, I gotta step away. I gotta take care of my life. And Kevin says, hold on real quick. He calls Bev. He tells Bev, and Bev says, we're going to get him. And these people took me in for 3 months, and I lived with them at the racetrack, for 3 months, and homeless. I didn't have a job. I didn't have nothing. I lost my job because I got, laid off because, contract issues and stuff like that. And this guy has been there for me. And he knows if there's anything that I could ever do for him, he knows I'd be there for him also. But just to let you guys know what type of person Kevin Jaycox is, he's a great guy. I'll do anything in the world for him. Unfortunately, Sandusky Speedway is closed, and it doesn't mean the friendship's going to stop, Kevin. We just won't see each other as much. So
no, it'll never stop, Will.
It will never. Yep.
It's always going to be there. The funny part is I forgot about you living with us until you said it. But my door's always open for you. Always has been, always will be.
Yep.
Rollo had a house and a nice fiance and everything else. He still lived at the racetrack.
So I just want to say that, I love you, and I love all you guys up there. And, I just want to say thank you for coming on here, sharing stories, explaining to people about what it's like to own a racetrack and the ins and outs and the difficulty it is and how much money it takes to spend at a rate to own a racetrack, for that matter.
Right.
And it's just, I'm very proud of you. You've gone this long without a cigarette.
I know.
I know. So
I'm like dying here.
But I just want to go ahead and just say thank you, man. I love you guys, and you guys take care. Kevin, thank you for coming on. So, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Jaycox, and good luck this season with all your race directing.
Appreciate it. Love you, buddy.
Okay, love you, brother.
Everybody who supported us, love you guys. Thank you. Appreciate you. I hope you guys have a great race season.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye for now. So there you guys go, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin Jaycox. That was a great show. A lot of good people. A lot of good numbers. Good numbers so far, Dave. I've seen as high as 32 today. So I know the replays we get. That's where we get our numbers, is on the replay. So yeah,
I seen the high of 38 at one time.
Okay, that's good.
Willie,
so, yeah.
Willie, I know it's your show, but I know Kevin seems like he's got a lot more to talk about. Maybe we can have a second part here in the near future with Kevin.
Absolutely. This will not be the last time we'll have Kevin on. Definitely. I'd like to bring him on probably at the end of the year and see how his year went, the whole USA of still race directing. And he might say, you know what, screw this. I don't even want to do that either anymore. So, yeah. But no, it's definitely one of those things where I appreciate you guys coming on here. Sorry for the technical difficulties that we had to start the show, but it's what can we do? It's technology, folks. There's nothing we can do about that. I have plans for a very, very, very big name, former super modified driver to come on the show. I'm going to reach out to him tomorrow. I'm going to see if he wants to come on. I don't see him telling me no, but you never know. But if not, I got a plan B. But I'm telling you guys right now, tune in next week. It's going to be a young one that's going to come on here. I'm telling you guys right now. I just gave you guys a hint. So there you guys go. So it's going to be a really, really good episode, show, whatever you want to call it. But I just want to say, Dave, thank you for helping me do this and be a part of this for the third season. And let's go ahead and keep going. Isma, again, congratulations. John Nicotra, good job. Everything that you got going on. Yes, Kevy, remind me next time we have your dad on, we will tell the Black Flag story. That is a funny story. Make sure you're sitting next to him, though, because you got to give your part of the story because your dad wasn't there. If your mom was here, though, she'd be the one I'd want to tell the story. But thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for tuning in to Tight and Loose Out. Thanks for all the sponsors, the new sponsors that came on board, and we're going to go ahead and publicize you guys more on our social media pages. So you guys take care. God bless. Good night. I'm Will Patterson. This is Tight and Loose Out, and I'm out.
We'll see you next week.